Good, good morning, everyone. Good morning to all the commissioners and to the staff, the chief and staff who are in attendance, and any visitors who are in attendance this morning. This is a special meeting of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, June 21st. The time is 9 a.m. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call, please?
Woods Gray,
Here.
Babcock, Hara,
Here.
Ibarra, Ninberg.
Here.
You have, pardon me, Fire Chief Crawley.
Present, thank you.
And Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, very good. Good morning, Chief Crawley. Would you lead us in the flag salute and the moment of silence, please?
Yes, I'd be honored. Please stand and we'll have your hand over your heart for the flag salute, pledge allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devoted their lives to the protection of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Now we'll move to item number 1 on the agenda, which is, Ms. Gomez, would you give us our rules for public comment, please, at this time?
Yes, ma'am. Persons may listen to this meeting live by dialing, Persons may listen to this meeting by dialing any of the telephone numbers listed on the cover of the agenda for this meeting. Should you dial one of these numbers, you will be able to listen to the meeting but will not be able to give public comment during the meeting. Anyone wishing to address the Board of Fire Commissioners on any item on the agenda or to provide general public comment should call 1-669-900-9128. When you are asked for a meeting ID, please enter 881-2091-3045, followed by the pound sign. Then press the pound sign again to continue. You will then be joined into the meeting. To alert the board that you want to give public comment, press *9. You will be called on by board staff who may refer to you using the last 3 digits of the phone number you are calling from. When unmuted by staff, press *6 and please state your name. As a general reminder, public comment will be limited to 1 minute per agenda item and up to 2 minutes allowed for agenda items. At the request of the speaker will be afforded an additional 1 minute for general public comment for a maximum of 3 minutes total per speaker. Time cannot be ceded to another speaker, and an individual may speak only once during the public comment period. Only those who are in the queue when the president begins the public comment section of the agenda will be allowed to speak. These instructions may also be found on the front page of the meeting agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Now we'll move to item 1, which is the commissioner comments. And I believe since the last time I remember, we had the Pride Parade and we had the MLK Parade. And I wanted to congratulate Chief Crawley on being present at both of those parades and doing an outstanding job on her interviews. And the crowd and the press and everybody was very excited. And I heard from some of them, so I know they were excited to have her in the parade. And her team. And Dr. Hara represented the commission at the MLK, and Commissioner Ninberg represented the commission at the Pride Parade. So we all had it, we were all there in a way. I want to make sure that we continue to celebrate Pride Month, remembering that love is love and that diversity is important. June is filled with lots of holidays. We just celebrated Juneteenth, which is a new holiday for the country and for LA. And Black Music Month comes in June, along with a number of others. But thanks to Mayor Garcetti and the LA City Council, Los Angeles City celebrated Juneteenth as a legal holiday for us with pay for the first time. And so it worked out really great because that turned out to be the day they had the MLK parade, which was also a good reminder. Juneteenth is, for some, is a new celebration. For me, I grew up celebrating it with my family all of my life. So it was great to see that the nation is now taking note of slavery and when it ended. And it's important to continue to educate each generation. And so I think that's what this new awareness is going to do. And with that, are there other commissioners with comments?
I guess I'll start.
Dr. Hara, good morning.
Good morning. And so I was in the Kingdom Day Parade yesterday with Chief Crowley and with Chief Everett, Chief Larson, Chief Hogan. We missed Chief Rideout. He ordinarily participates, but he wasn't there. And then the Stentorian president, Durant, was also on the bandwagon. And then Phil Wyreeder provided the shuttle service to the bandwagon, and then Cody Wyreeder did the driving for us. And once again, it was a great event, and I was happy to participate.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Hara, for representing the commission. Are there other comments from other commissioners?
Yes, this is Commissioner Babcock, President.
Good morning, Commissioner Babcock.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I think I missed the roll call, so I apologize for that. Just wanted to, yep, just wanted to make everyone aware that the Ascot Hills 5K, which benefits the Wilson LAFD cadet program, will take place again this September, the end of September. I believe it's the 24th. Don't quote me on that, but I'll send around an email because early registration is June 30th this year. So if you would like to get in, get a spot, it's a great family event. You could walk the dog, walk the kids, walk yourself. Some people run. That's not me, but definitely walk through it. So it's a great event up here in Northeast Los Angeles. Again, that benefits the Wilson LAFD cadet program. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that one. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for reminding us of that. Are there other comments from other commissioners? Commissioner Lindbergh?
Yes. Thank you, Madam President. I also want to echo the sentiments that the Pride Parade and the MLK Parade, having the new chief in those, was extraordinary. I was very proud to ride in the Pride Parade with our first openly LGBTQ fire chief in the history of Los Angeles. And everybody who was at the parade knew how excited I was. It was so much fun, and there's just so much love and joy there. And just really embracing that and being with the LAFD and being a part of the community. And with Chief Crowley was one of, really quite honestly, one of the highlights of my term on this commission. And it was brought me to tears a couple times. So I am just absolutely thrilled. I was also sorry to miss the MLK parade, although I heard that was fantastic. I was very proud. Another opportunity being on this commission was that we got to vote on the special meeting to certainly, as support for paying firefighters for a holiday, the holiday of Juneteenth. That was, that also was, I was just so excited about having that opportunity, and it was such an honor to be able to participate in that. in that recognition, and also making sure that this is a true holiday. And so that was pretty great. And I will say, I have not prepared any remarks, but this is likely, it could be my last meeting. I have not gotten my reappointment letter. However, I do want to say that my time on this commission and working with all of you has been so meaningful and extraordinary. And we have gotten to do some pretty remarkable things. And I've been very honored to be a part of this, to be able to take the mayor's charge of helping diversify the department, helping increase the number of women, helping to address some of the cultural ills that have been longstanding. And I think that working with some of these incredible commissioners by my side, and I know Commissioner Glazier is not here, also helping overhaul the youth programs and creating a pipeline for LA City residents. That was his charge, and that was so great. We are to be a part of that. And I have to say, if this is my last meeting, you are all in great hands with Chief Crowley, and I could not ask for a better leader. And I want to thank Mayor Garcetti for appointing Chief Crowley to this position. And I want to thank you all. This has been difficult and also extremely meaningful. And I want to thank you all.
Well, that was a nice surprise for us to end this comment portion with. But Commissioner Nienberg, you know, you brought a burst of extra energy to this commission when you came. And so a lot of things happened. And the department is much better off for your presence and having been here. And I think there will be a legacy. Whether you get credit for it or not, there will be a legacy that has your name on it. Okay. And the energy, I hope the energy stays somewhere in the air. If not, just have to call it in anyway, because that energy has really helped this commission and this department in more ways. You know, from the girls' camps and all the things that you get so excited about. And then, of course, the highlight of it will be Chief Crowley's appointment. And that will last in all of our minds for years to come. And of course, your service was deeply appreciated. And so I hope you know how valuable you are. I know you do. You know how valuable you are and how appreciated you are by this department and by the commissioners. Okay, let's see if we could move on to the chief's report. Okay, report of the fire chief, item number 2, Chief Crowley.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everybody. I'll just start too with thanking Commissioner Nienberg for your vision, your dedication and commitment to our department. On behalf of every sworn and civilian member, we thank you for your service. You've been so instrumental in the evolution of our department, and I cannot thank you enough on behalf of all of us. So thank you. I know this is not the end, it's the beginning in regard to all of us growing, and you have absolutely been instrumental in regard to helping us be better each and every day. So we're grateful for that. So thank you. Just to talk about my specific meetings and events over the periods from June 7th to June 20th. June 12th, that was our LA Pride Parade, an absolute incredible opportunity to represent the men and women of our department. We walked most of the parade and had a fantastic opportunity to connect with the LGBTQIA+ community. I couldn't have been prouder that day. I did have the opportunity to bring my middle daughter with me, And it was just a wonderful event, and I look forward to many, many of those in the future. I was extremely proud to be there to represent the department. On June 14th and 15th, I just want to report to everybody that we continue to move forward and take huge strides in developing our strategic plan for the next 3 years. We are meeting with our internal, external stakeholders. I've personally met and will continue to meet with each of the council districts. On the 14th, we did meet with CD8, that was Councilmember Harris Dawson, and CD14, that was Councilmember De Leon. And we met specifically to talk one-on-one with he and his staff regarding the strategic plan process. And we're collecting a lot of very essential information based off of their community needs in each of their districts, as well as their office needs. So we're bringing a lot of value in establishing a relationship. On the 15th, we met with 3 additional council offices. That was CD13, Councilmember O'Farrell, CD9, Councilmember Price, and CD2, Councilmember Krikorian. So again, just pushing through, and we're having fantastic dialogue and capturing a lot of information that's needed across the city to see how we as your LAFD can better serve the constituents and the council members. So we just have a few of those left, and I'll continue to report on our progress when it comes to our 3-year strategic plan. On the 16th, just following up with that, that was a really essential meeting with our internal stakeholders. That was our general membership meetings. I did that on the 16th and the 17th. Spent some time with our general membership meeting over at Frank Hodgkins. And again, we spent about 4 hours collecting information to set us up for success, again, to create our roadmap for the next 3 years. And then lastly, yesterday on June 20th, I did participate, like we talked about, in the Kingdom Day Parade. Again, a fantastic opportunity to represent the department. And more importantly, we had the opportunity just to be out there in the community and represent the LAFD, and to remember from the Kingdom Day Parade what that means to our department as well as the community, but also to celebrate Juneteenth, to understand our historical perspective of where we are and where we are today. It also allows us to reflect on where we need to go. So, I was very happy to be a part of that, and thank my command team as well as Dr. Hara and Commissioner Nimberg, who was part of the Pride Parade. So that ends my report. Thank you very much.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Chief. I'd like to also congratulate you and commend you on the way you're leading in your development of the strategic plan. That's a great beginning, and I love that, the way that you're doing that. Thank you so much for all the activities that you participate in, and it helps the department and increases our public relations in many ways. Thank you so much. Okay, the item, we have a item B, which is the verbal report of the department on significant incidents and activities.
Good morning, Madam President.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chief Poirier.
Thank you, Chief Crowley. Alfred Poirier, Chief Deputy of Emergency Operations, here to present an overview of emergency operations activities since our last regular meeting on June the 7th. Our emergency call volume average over the past 2 weeks was 1,475 calls a day, compared with 1,395 during the same period last year, for about a 5% increase in our call volume. And our ambulance transports were 606 per day on average over the past 2 weeks, an increase of just over 4% over the last average from the last calendar year. On June the 18th, 2022, at about 12:45 p.m., resources in Battalion 1, part of our Operations Central Bureau, responded to a greater alarm commercial building fire at 1335 South Santee Street here in the downtown area. 76 of our LAFD firefighters took just 22 minutes in a well-coordinated offensive firefighting operation to access, confine, and fully extinguish a well-entrenched fire within one unit in a row of one-story businesses. One civilian bystander was medically evaluated for breathing difficulties, and no other injuries were reported. On June the 20th, 2022, at about 10 p.m., resources in Battalion 5 part of Operations West Bureau, responded to a brush fire near 3650 North Barham Boulevard. This wildland incident, known as the Coyote Fire, involved just over 1 acre of medium to heavy brush burning above the dog park near the Ava apartment complex, moving towards Coyote Canyon, which designates why it was named the Coyote Fire. In all, we used approximately 72 LAFD personnel, including pilots in 3 of our LAFD helicopters to suppress this fire. The Los Angeles County Fire Department also assisted us with automatic aid and deployed 5 camp crews for cutting hand lines and 1 helicopter for water drops. There was no imminent structure threat of this fire and no evacuations. As you can see by the weather that you've seen advertised over the media this coming week, we would anticipate additional grass and brush starts across the state of California, and we are prepared. That ends my report unless there are further questions.
I think we all saw the Coyote Fire on television last night, and it was like intense at the time I saw it last. And I'm happy to hear that. I knew that LAFD West Bureau was going to handle it, so I was confident. I don't know about the other people around there because they have experience at doing that. The first thing I thought about was, oh God, Chief Hogan is not there. But we have other fine firefighters who stepped in, and Chief Fields and his group, I guess, helped and did the same fine work. Thank you very much to everybody who worked on that. Thank you very much, Chief Portia. Commissioner Nimber?
Oh, yes. I also want to say I had friends that live very close to that fire, and I was very proud and very confident, reassuring them, saying, you're fine. You are absolutely fine. I looked on Pulse Point. I could see how many resources were deployed. It was really great. And I just want to say thank you. And it was fantastic. I'm like, you're good. Don't worry about it. So that is one thing that is just absolutely extraordinary about this department is, you just give us so much confidence, especially when it comes to addressing fires like this. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We're incredibly proud of our firefighters. And as President Woods-Gray mentioned, Chief Hogan is no longer in West Bureau, but we have Chief Fields and Chief Zipperman.
Right.
Incredibly
Chief
competent
Zipperman, yes.
professional officers, and we're very confident that they're going to handle anything that's thrown their way.
Absolutely.
That's very true. I forgot that Chief Zipperman is there. Great resources. Are there other comments or questions from the commissioners? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move to item 2C, which is the verbal report by the Interim Medical Director.
Good morning, Madam President. I'm going to be filling in for our Interim Medical Director. Madam
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, Deputy City Attorney Nguyen, command staff, fellow members, and members of the public. My name is Tyler Dixon. I'm an Assistant Chief for the Los Angeles Fire Department assigned to the EMS Bureau. And I'm happy this morning to be invited to present a couple of EMS incidents updates since your last commission meeting on the 7th, ma'am. On the afternoon of June 16th, Fast Response Vehicle 9 was on active patrol in Fire Station 9's district, as they are normally tasked with, and recognized smoke coming from a window of a 5-story center hallway apartment building. And they immediately reported this to the Metro Fire Communications Division, requesting additional resources to be assigned in a structure fire assignment, and quickly donned their PPEs and ascended to the 4th floor with a fire extinguisher and found a small stove fire that was impinging on nearby cabinets and the ceiling. They were able to extinguish that fire within minutes of recognizing it, allowing the bulk of the resources from the structure fire response to be canceled, only requiring one engine and one truck to continue through to further mitigate the fire, potentially saving this small incident from becoming a much larger incident if it was allowed to impinge on the cabinetry and ceiling much longer. While this is a medical update and the fast response vehicles, normally the bulk of their work entails medical response, this incident highlights the dual function capabilities of this fast response vehicle program. which is normally staffed by 2 firefighter paramedics and a pickup truck that has mostly medical equipment and some light firefighting equipment, including a small water pump, hose, and small water tank. This resource normally on a 410 schedule actively patrols. We have 4 of these vehicles, 1 in each of our bureaus. This example of FR9 actively patrolling in Fire Station 9's district, which commissioners, I know you know is one of our busiest areas in the city. This resource allows for rapid response, assessment of the incident, and the ability to cancel unneeded resources for that incident that can become available for other responses. On June 19th, a second incident, Light Force 87 and Rescue 87 in the Granada Hills area responded to a single family dwelling where a 62-year-old male was complaining of chest pain and shortness of breath. During the initial assessment of this patient, Rescue 87 noticed a life-threatening cardiac rhythm, and the patient went into cardiac arrest minutes after the paramedics and firefighter EMTs responded. They immediately provided CPR, cardiac defibrillation, and advanced cardiac medications. By the time that they transferred care to a local hospital, they had received a return of spontaneous circulation. This incident highlights one of the foundational reasons for our EMS system, the response and treatment of sudden cardiac arrest. The American Heart Association reports that 383,000 out-of-hospital sudden cardiac arrests happen annually in this country, 88% of them happening in the home. The Los Angeles Fire Department, firefighter EMTs, and firefighter paramedics are highly trained, well-equipped, and respond to these types of incidents on a regular basis. While this type of incident is can be traumatic for an individual noticing this, this is a routine type of event for our firefighter paramedics and firefighter EMTs. And this is an example of a positive outcome that the training, equipment, and support that this commission gives to our EMS system results in. I welcome any questions, Madam President.
Oh, thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments or concerns from commissioners? Oh, okay, I don't see any. So thank you very much. Is that Captain Dixon?
Assistant Chief Tyler Dixon, ma'am.
Assistant Chief. Thank you. I get the titles mixed up sometimes, but I don't want to take anything away. So it's Assistant Chief. So it's Chief Dixon. Thank you so much for your report.
Thank you,
and
ma'am.
For your smile.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now we'll move on to item number 3, which is the public comment period. Ms. Gomez.
Yes, ma'am. I'm requesting to unmute. Okay, I'll request the next number. Area code 805, number 105.
Good morning, Freddie Escobar, all items.
3 minutes, please begin.
Good morning, everyone. Freddie Escobar, President, United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, proudly representing over 3,400 sisters and brothers of the LAFD. As shown by the findings in the Equal Employment Assessment, the LAFD has made major improvements with regards to hiring, diversity, and the handling of complaints. The number of complaints in 2021 was much lower than in 2013 and 2014. UFLAC works hard to make sure that our members' voices are heard, and we are committed to having all LAFD workplaces be safe, equitable, and free of harassment. For this reason, UFLAC does not agree with the independent assessor's recommendation number 5, and number 6. By making these changes, you will remove education-based discipline, which is the most effective form of action. In reviewing the LAFD's response, UFLAC agrees with the department's response to recommendation number 6 and welcomes the opportunity to meet and confer prior to implementing any new charter sections. As stated today and in previous meeting, UFLAC will continue to advocate for education-based discipline because offering our members additional training would be much more valuable than simply penalizing them with days off work. Mandatory days off also leave our city with less firefighters and paramedics out in the field to serve the public and safeguards of our city. Thank you guys very much for your time and hope everyone had a great weekend.
Thank you for your comments. Number ending in 108, area code 818, have requested. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning. I'd like to speak on agenda items 6A and B and general public comment.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioner Woods Gray, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, command staff. My name is Chris Larson, President of Los Angeles Women in the Fire Service. I'd like to make a comment on the recommendation by the independent assessor. Hearing the comments of UFLAC President Freddie Escobar and looking at these 2 reports by the independent assessor, it is time that we make serious changes to the way we investigate and discipline members who are in a violation of department policies. Previous commission noted that somebody has been waiting for a board of rights for 10 years. That's unacceptable. Whether it's education-based discipline or following the guidelines that other city employees follow, it's time for all of us to come together and make sure that we are making a fair and equitable recommendations for discipline with members who make egregious EEO violations. It's unacceptable for members to be waiting, to have their justice. It's not fair to the members. It's not fair to the department. Justice delayed is justice denied. And lastly, I'd like to thank Commissioner Ninberg for all her hard work with the LAFD. I appreciate her support for the youth programs and the youth of the city of Los Angeles. They are the future members of this fire department, and the pipeline progress that she's set up with these youth programs, our girls camps, our youth fire, and our cadet programs are the way that we are going to get qualified, competent candidates for the city of Los Angeles in the category of firefighter. So thank you, Commissioner Ninberg, for your consistent support and encouragement of the youth of the city of Los Angeles. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Number ending in 960, area code 858, I've requested that you unmute. Good morning.
Yeah, I'd like to comment on items 1, 2, and 3.
You have 3 minutes. Please begin.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I agree with the recommendations of the independent assessor to follow the city charter for discipline. Doesn't surprise me that the union and President Escobar does not want to have actionable consequences for their members. Kind of like me asking my kids if it's okay to discipline them before I do it. Of course they're going to say no. Be able to appeal to a board of rights without time restraints has led to firefighters avoiding discipline for up to 10 years. This is a loophole that must be closed. In the case of Stephen Chang, who was nearly killed by an off-duty firefighter, this firefighter appealed to a board of rights and is still running 911 calls going into homes during people's medical emergencies and most vulnerable moments. In order to have zero tolerance mean anything, you must create a process where firefighters are held accountable. If not immediately, within a reasonable time frame, otherwise you compromise public safety by keeping these offenders in the field. Thank you. I render the rest of my time.
Thank you for your comments. Madam Chair, that was the last public comment caller.
Thank you, Ms. Gomez. Very good. Thank you to all the public comment speakers. Let's move on now to item number 4, which is the determination under Government Code Section 54953E1. Is there a discussion on this particular item, or is there, if not, a motion is in order?
I make a motion. I make a motion to continue the 4A for another 30 days, as I don't believe that this commission should meet until there's an opportunity for a hybrid meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we continue under Government Code Section 5954953E1BC and E3A and BI, that we have determined that the COVID-19 state of emergency continue to directly impact the ability of the members of this commission to meet in person, and possibly and that we will take. Ms. Gomez, would you call the roll on that, please?
Yes. Woods Gray,
Aye.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to item number 5, the consent agenda items. Consent agenda items, we have items A through F. I would like to publicly thank the LAFD Foundation for the support of the programs and the staff in our department, and for the in-kind and the monetary contributions that they make. They help to make the department safer and much better. So are there discussions on any of these items? If not, motions in order.
I make a motion to move consent agenda items 5A through 5F.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we move the consent agenda items 5A through 5F. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call, please?
Woods Gray,
Aye.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
and Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item 6. That's our regular agenda items. We are BFC 22-046. It's the report of the independent assessor. Ms. Stengel, there she is. Okay, very good. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sue Stengel, Independent Assessor. Before I begin, I too want to thank Commissioner Ninberg for her contributions and her service. I am presenting the assessment of the department's equal employment opportunity cases. I presented this a few weeks ago, and the commission asked that it be continued so that it would be considered alongside the department's response. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me or additional questions for me from our previous discussion.
Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding the independent assessor's report and the recommendations? She had 7 recommendations on page 35 of the report. Okay, seeing none.
Thank you.
Oh, Ms. I'm sorry. Commissioner Ninberg, I didn't see your hand and I saw your face come like that. Go ahead.
Thank you. This was a very, very thorough report. I know it took a long time, and I just want to say thank you very much. Your recommendations are good, and I am grateful for the thoroughness of this report. Thank you.
Welcome.
Yeah, are there comments from other commissioners? Okay, I too want to thank Ms. Stingle for her and her team for all the work that they've done in compiling this information, because it must take hours and hours to go through all this data and to analyze it and then to come up with a report that was, I think, very thorough, and the recommendations, which I think are timely. Okay, very good. Let's see. Seeing no others, or is there a motion for the recommendation that's on the agenda, that the board approve the recommendations and adopt the Office of the Independent Assessor's report? Or do you want to hear the department's report first?
I recommend that we listen to the department's response.
And then vote on both items.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any objection to that order from commissioners? Okay, seeing no objections, then we'll move to item B for the report by the department. And I think Chief Graham Eric, you're doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Chief Everett.
Good morning,
You're
Madam
on.
President, Commissioners, Fire Chief Crowley, City Attorney Nguyen, and Letitia. My name is Graham Everett. I'm a Deputy Chief, and I serve as the Chief of Staff. Before you today is our response to the Independent Assessor's audit of the EEO assessment that she completed. As was mentioned, there's 7 recommendations within the report. The department has reviewed the report and discussed different aspects with the independent assessor and the city attorney's office, and have come to these conclusions or these recommendations in response. So when you look at the recommendations, the first 2 really deal with CTS, and not just CTS, the use of CTS, but the actual upgrading of CTS. We're working with ITB and ITA to create those portals that the independent assessor has recommended. We believe that those are valuable, and it'll be an upgrade to our system. Recommendation number 3 talks about the ability to have categorized complaints by non-LAFD employees that may include allegations based on protected classes. That too is a CTS upgrade, but also which we will work with ITA and ITB to handle. But also we have recently hired our moderator within PSD, and that's been a big help in properly categorizing these cases as they come in, because as the cases come in and they're managed in CTS, it's nice when there's one person that's doing that for consistency purposes. So that spot's been vacant for a while, so we're happy that we were able to fill it. And our management analyst that's in that position is doing a great job. So we will continue working through that. And that, again, that does involve ITA and ITB for some platform changes on CTS. Obviously, CTS is antiquated, and we're working on getting a new system. But in the short term, I think some of these changes can be made with the budget that we received in this year's budget, and working with ITA and ITB to help us do that. When you look at recommendation number 4, it talks about the DPPH. The DPPH needs to be updated as it needs to be consistent with city EEO policy. So while we update the DPPH and make sure the language is accurate with city policy, we're going to maintain the use of the city EEO policies while we do the updates and revisions to the DPPH. The DPPH actually had some language in it that made it more restrictive than the city EEO policies do. So we're going to utilize the EEO policies that the Office of Workplace Equity uses, a personnel department, and we're utilizing our EEO coordinator to make sure we have compliance with that. So the department agrees with that recommendation, and we're making those updates as we speak. Recommendation number 5 talks about sustained allegations that implicate protected classes for hazing and horseplay. When you look at the penalty guidelines, the hazing and horseplay categories within the penalty guidelines are separate and apart from the EEO categories. So when we have a case, and this is consistent with city policy, when we have a case that involves hazing and horseplay, if a protected class is impacted by that action, the EEO policies would be utilized as penalties for those guys for that offense. If it's not, if there isn't an indication of a protected class being impacted, then it would be a hazing and horseplay penalty. But that's consistent with city policy, and that's what we'll be following. So we do agree that if a protected class is impacted by the action, then EEO policy should apply. Recommendation number 6 talks about the charter and discontinuing the practice of revoking suspension days, which I'm not so sure. Revoking to me made it sound like we're not having the discipline, but I understand what the independent assessor was saying, and we do agree that, and consulting with the city attorney as well, we do agree that the opportunity exists to impose those suspensions on the front end, and if folks would like to appeal per the charter, they certainly have the right to do so. We will be working with the union on a meet and confer basis to implement this practice. It's been a long-standing practice, and in fact, LAPD does the same thing. So we're working through that, and we'll have those discussions with labor. Number 7 talks about consistently and accurately marking EEO sustained and not sustained boxes in CTS, and that includes hazing cases. And as I mentioned with our new addition of our moderator in the office, I think we'll see a lot more consistency across the board on all of our closures and all of our marked indications in CTS, because we have one person doing it, and it'll be much more consistent. And then, as I mentioned before, hazing cases and horseplay cases, if they involve a protected class, then they certainly will be marked as EEO cases. So that breaks down. The department's in agreement with the recommendations, and we're working towards completion of these. Some require meet and confer, and some require technology advancements, but we definitely want to move forward in that direction. Happy to answer any questions that anyone might have, and that concludes the report.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Everett. Are there any questions from commissioners regarding Chief Everett's report?
Yes.
Commissioner Ninberg.
Oh, yes. Hi. Thank you, Chief Everett. So I definitely, I have a question. What is the process for civilians? Do they serve their suspensions before or after?
Civilian members serve their suspensions before the appeal, and then they appeal their suspension if they choose to the Civil Service Commission.
Okay, so and then let's say somebody gets 5 days and then it gets knocked down to 3. Do they get paid back for that? What happens there?
After their appeal, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the department would be required to pay back any back pay that might be different after the appeal.
Okay, excellent. And what if, so this is in the charter that we are to have the suspension days on the front end, correct?
Yeah, I mean, that's the interpretation of the charter. It says that the department can do that, and the practice of the department for decades has been to do it the way we've been doing it. So yeah, it's the interpretation of the charter. Yes, that's what it says.
Okay, excellent. And so as far as meet and confer, is that required?
Yes.
Why would that be required? Just want to know. I don't know why.
Yeah, because we've been doing it this way for, like I said, decades, and it's a past practice of the department. So implementation of this will require meet and confer.
Okay, so if we pass it, there could be, like, let's say, because I know that, how many cases are in there in the queue?
I don't know.
Outside of the vaccinations, like.
Well, are you talking about open cases that we have, or cases that are pending a board of rights?
Pending a board of rights.
So right now we probably have about 6 department directed boards, and we probably have 20 or so member opted boards, which are the appeals.
Okay.
And then we have the vaccination boards.
Okay, so it's really, The member opted boards, right? I think,
The ones you're talking about with the appeals is member opted, yeah.
right, exactly. So I would, I think certainly I support this recommendation, so it's in line with the civilians in the department that we're treating everybody fairly. I also, but I would think that since it is a sudden change, that there will need to be a gradual adoption for the past. So like moving forward from today on, we can have suspensions on the front end for the past, for those 20 member boards waiting, perhaps, you know, set a timeline. What would be a reasonable timeline?
Well, ma'am, if the board approves the recommendations that we've submitted and the recommendations of the independent assessor, my recommendation would be that you direct the department to enter meet and confer discussions with the union. I can't put a date on when or what that looks like for pending boards, but I wouldn't want to overstep on the meet and confer process. So I think the recommendation today, if you were to approve this, would be to direct the department to carry out meet and confer discussions and then move forward.
I do think we should adopt the recommendation. And I think that the meet and confer could be done for the ones that are already in the queue, the 20.
I would respectfully disagree. We can't change our process without the meet and confer for the implementation of this. We can't just say, okay, today we're going to do it this way. For the rest of you that had it the other way, we're going to do it after the meet and confer is done. We have to do it meet and confer across the board to implement.
Do we have, can we get recommendation from the, or Sue, do you know what the, or Ms. Stengel?
That's the recommendation from the city attorney, ma'am.
So the recommendation from the city attorney is that we go,
that we meet.
I believe that the people who have already come into this process under the old rules, the old past practice, should stay with that particular past practice. But moving ahead, we should actually follow the law, the city law, the charter, which I believe was voted in by the people as a part of, to make it legal. Because what we're doing now is actually, I don't care if the police and everyone else is doing it, it's not legal. Because if it's against the charter, it's illegal. I think that somehow we need to move to come in compliance with the charter.
Mm-hmm.
But I do support the issues that are here, and also that we would bring the department in line so that the civilians and the sworn officers are all doing the same thing. That would make sense to me. But anyone who's already entered the queue would think that they were going to follow the old rules, the past practices, which were illegal, but that's the past practice, and that would apply to them because that's what their understanding was at that time. But anyone new coming in would then follow the charter and the law.
Madam President, I just want to make, before you to vote, I want to offer a couple things. Number one, the past practice of the department is not illegal. It's an interpretation of the charter that's been going on for decades. So I wouldn't define it as illegal. The other thing is I'm happy to get you a recommendation from the city attorney's office about how to move forward. The information I received from the city attorney's office on this point was before we implement, we need to meet and confer. But I'm happy to get you an updated recommendation.
We'll vote today, and if necessary, you can follow through with the city attorney and bring that back to another meeting. Because we have long waited for this report, and I think we need to finalize it today to the point that we are at, because the independent assessor has done a lot of work, and we've been really waiting on this report. And I believe that it is at a point where I believe we need to move ahead.
Right.
Are there other comments and concerns from other commissioners? Okay, seeing none, then Ms. Stingle, did you have any comments following the chief's report?
No, thank you, unless you have other questions.
No, I just thought maybe something he said might have triggered a question or comment of clarification on your part. So I wanted to allow you the opportunity to speak if you needed to do that.
And
okay,
Madam President, real quick, if I may.
Yes.
I just wanted to jump in and, with whatever and however the council or the commission decides to vote, from our stance, from the department management stance, we just want to make sure that we are properly implementing and that we followed all the steps that we need to. So I am in alignment with Chief Everett in that regard to make sure that we do circle back to the city attorney so that we once implement and prior to, we understand that we are above board and we're doing exactly what we need to, because we want to set this next charted course to make sure that we are doing this the right way and that it's sustainable and that we don't have to go backwards. So that's just my only other information I wanted to share with the group, is just to ensure that we implement it the correct way. And if that's meet and confer, fine. And then whatever that practice is, then moving forward, that we're consistent and fair in how we implement.
Thank you, Chief Crowley.
So,
Commissioner Ember,
sorry.
did you have another comment?
Yes, well, a question. So if we vote on this moving forward, all the recommendations that were thought out by the independent assessor, it would be up to the department to decide how to implement those, correct? If we said, hey, I just want to make sure that we're correct, and we're going to adopt those that had been grandfathered or prior to today's date may or may not be affected by this new adoption, and we hope, or we give a timeline for when they come into compliance with the charter. I just want to make sure that what we're voting on is clear and is going to be helpful to the department moving forward to adopt all of these recommendations. So that what I'm talking about
I think the recommendations, Commissioner, are on the table today, but the implementation of them, as far as who's in and who's out, is not. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're only on what's on the table are recommendations, and that's it.
Okay.
Right. I would say the details of folks that are pending a Board of Rights, folks that may be looking at a suspension and want to appeal their Board of Rights in the future. Those are discussions that will occur through the meet and confer process. Those details. So I wouldn't I personally wouldn't speculate on what occurs with those that are waiting.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just wanted to make sure that it's legal, that we're in compliance. So with that, I make a motion to adopt all the recommendations in item 6A, the report by the independent assessor providing an assessment of the Los Angeles Fire Department EEO opportunity complaints.
Very good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, very good. It's been moved and seconded. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call on BFC 22-046, please?
Woods Gray,
Aye.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. And then we move to item B.
I make
As far as the board receives and approves the report.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, very good. Moved and second that that the board receive and approve the report of the department BFC 22-056. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call?
Woods Gray,
Yes.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
Ninberg,
Yes.
motion carries.
Very good. Thank you, Independent Assessor Single, and thank you, Chief Graham Everett and the department for working to bring this forth so that we could finally again bring closure. Being that this is like the last meeting for the fiscal year, it's kind of like we finished the business that we started earlier in the year. And finally, we're at this. This has taken quite a while, and so we're glad to see that. And I know that the independent assessor is involved in some other audits that she's doing, and will be coming forth with those soon. So we look forward to hearing more from you, Ms. Stingle. Thank you very much to you and your team. Okay, so we're moving to item C.
So,
Chief Everett, that's you again.
yes, ma'am. Madam President, Commissioners, this is item C with the COVID update numbers. We've broken down a few of them with sworn and civilian numbers as requested. So we have a total of 3,743 employees. 348 of those members are civilian. 3,395 of those members are sworn. Of the sworn numbers, we have 2,966 members that are fully vaccinated, and we have 316 members, civilian members that are fully vaccinated. That's a total of 3,282 members, which is just a tick over 87% of our membership is fully vaccinated. In terms of exemptions, we have members that we have 322 sworn members that have filed for exemptions on the religious and medical, and 13 members, civilian members that have filed for exemptions. 13 civilian members have filed for religious exemptions, and 272 members, sworn members, have filed for religious exemptions. There are 32 members that filed for sworn members that have filed for medical exemptions, and 0 civilian members for that purpose. And 18 sworn members have filed for religious and medical exemptions, and 0 civilians on that side. From the members that were served a 48-hour notice for not being compliant, we had a total of 358 of those members were notified. 1 member was civilian and 357 were sworn. From that number, 127 sworn returned to duty before being placed on the unpaid leave, and the one sworn member was also became compliant before being relieved of duty. So that left us with 230 sworn members that were put on unpaid administrative leave. The members that became compliant after being placed on that leave, out of that 230, 210 members became compliant. So we had 20 that remained not compliant. 16 have resigned, 2 have retired early, and 2 have been discharged. And we currently have 20 members on unpaid administrative leave. And we're continuing to work through that process. Today's numbers for current numbers, we have 31 members that are currently off duty due to COVID-19. 20 members are in isolation with an active case. 10 members are unable to return to duty due to a post-infection disability. And 1 member is on light duty recovering with a post-infection disability. We have nobody in the hospital right now, and that concludes the numbers for today, unless you have any questions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Ninberg.
Thank you so much, Chief Everett. This is great, and I would like to see this come to the next meeting as well, or moving forward every meeting. My question that I would also like to have added to this, or the answer to, would be how many have gone, how many of these appeals have gone to, these exemption requests have gone to personnel and have come back? So how many have come back as approved and how many have been denied?
So we have, my understanding is all of our exemption requests have been sent to Personnel Department. We received back 150 of them. One of them was approved and the others have been denied. But those numbers are, I'll get you better numbers next time, but that's my understanding.
Okay. All right. Excellent. And thank you. I appreciate all the work, and I want to commend the department for following through with the city mandate and holding people accountable. This is great. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm really happy to hear that so many people have come into compliance. That's really, really good. And thank you, Chief, for getting the report to us so that we knew how many civilians and sworns were involved in each of those numbers. Thank you very much. Are there any other concerns or questions from commissioners? Any comments? Chief, do you have any comments, final comments?
No, ma'am.
Chief, okay, very good. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. And all that I can say is, Chief Commissioner Nenberg, say it's not so.
Well, I do, one last comment I do want to say is, under your leadership and leadership of Dr. Jimmy Hara, this department has, in the last year, has made leaps and bounds to become more inclusive and really start addressing these cultural ills that have plagued the department for so long. So I want to thank you for, these were rocky waters for a while there, and you steadied the ship. And I want to thank you, Madam President, and Dr. Hara, Commissioner Hara, for your leadership during this tumultuous time and for getting us through. I know that you have there's a lot of difficult times ahead with staffing, but you're in great hands. And with that, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn our meeting. Ms. Gomez, would you do a roll call, please?
Woods Gray,
Aye.
Babcock,
Yes.
Hara,
Aye.
Ninberg.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everyone for attending. Thank you all to all the commissioners. Thank you to Commissioner Nenberg for your service. And I don't doubt that I will continue to see you in service, because there's a lot of places to serve, and we'll be serving in many places together, I'm so sure. But you are, oh, there's the baby.
Look who's joined us.
He's growing, isn't he? Oh my goodness, how precious.
Oh.
Hello there, little one.
Look at those cheeks.
Tell me his name again, so I gotta tell us his name again, Commissioner.
His name is Declan.
Declan.
Yeah.
Hi, Declan. Boy, he's growing.
He just wanted to say thank you to Commissioner Nimberg as well. And I know you've had quite a career of service on this commission. So thank you for paving the way for all of us and little future firefighters like him. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope he goes through all of the programs that were developed, starting off with the fire camps, and then the magnets, and going into cadets, and oh, there's so many opportunities. And he's a resident of Los Angeles.
He sure is a future Wilson High School mule, so he'll be in that.
Oh, right. Very good.
Excellent. And good luck with that 5K.
Are you a graduate of Wilson High, Commissioner?
No,
Babcock?
I am not. No, I am not. No, I'm a transplant into El Sereno. So.
Oh, okay.
Sereno's great.
Very good. Very good. Take good care of that Declan. He's such a handsome baby, and he's just growing. Wow. Very good. I can see when we're back in session, he'll be running around the seats there.
Yep.
Very good. Okay, everyone, have a good 2 weeks, and we will talk and see you all somewhere around the areas.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to everybody for all your service.